Is it actually recording? It's recording. Hi, welcome to another episode of Some Idiot Reads, where I'm Cy, I'm some idiot, and I read things. My apologies for the video upload of last week, where I just was not really in a position to do much of anything. Better space right now. Better mental area. So, I'm going to go ahead and try and knock this one on out. I don't think I'm going to get multiple tonight. I'm only going to get one. But that'll get me through to, the point where you're watching this, and we'll see where it's at from there. Today, I am going to be reading again from the fantastical works of Coyote Wallace, as you can see behind my camera. He is a phenomenal writer. People that have been to the channel for a while have certainly heard me read things from his dispatches from Appalachia, and he released one, looks like it was about a week ago, another one in the Lost Heroes of Old Appalachia series, and I'm really wanting to dig into this one. So, I'm going to go ahead, cut straight to the chase, and we're going to get to the article. I will go further over ways in which you can provide, let's just call it monetary appreciation to our fine author here, should you choose to and are able to. I'll get that at the end of the video, so pay attention. This is your homework assignment. That, and maybe like and subscribe on the video. I love you. And, all right. The Lost Heroes of Old Appalachia, America's Most Dangerous Woman. There is a picture of a coyote. And let's try and get this lined up. All right. There we go. Time has a funny way of playing tricks on you in these mountains, slipping by like a quick breeze on a cool night. What is young and vibrant one day is rendered old and obsolete the next, while what is old can, with a little help, be made young once more. This is not only true of my beloved Appalachia, but of every corner of the world as well. History, written on the small scale of Appalachian life, almost always seems to repeat itself on the grander stage of America as a nation. Henry Ford, when dreaming up how to best create assembly lines for his automobiles, visited Appalachia to see how King Cole worked the men, and was inspired by what he saw. Many of the coal operators who once stood with their boots upon our throats went on to have children who started rich political dynasties in the mountains and beyond. The barons of industry, who were once reluctantly forced to make concessions for the rights of the working man, are now rabid with anticipation at the thought of ridding themselves of such concerns. Before there was ice, there were gun thugs. Before there was Fox, there were newspapers loyal to King Cole. Before there was Donald Trump, there was Warren G. Harding. Before the administration did away with medical research about gender, King Cole did away with medical research into silicosis. What follows is a picture of two giant steaming piles of shit. One of them with a bad comb-over, the other with a really just crappy hat. He's such a frickin' edgelord. Taking the red, like quick sidebar, like the entire thing with the MAGA movement is trying to sit around with like red hats, but this douche canoe has to sit down and make sure he gets a black one because he's edgy. Look up, do yourself a favor, pause this video, open a new tab in your browser, and do a Google search for Elon Musk edgelord. I promise you will not regret it. Or maybe you will. It's hilarious either way. You can do the same with Ben Shapiro. I'm sure they don't want those pictures to be known about, and it is my civic duty to ensure they are never forgotten. As the world burns around me, as my friends fear each coming day, and as the very soul of our country is imperiled, I am struck by the awful sense that I have seen too much of this before. I'm a student of history, Appalachian history to be exact, and the boot heel of this administration looks no different from that of the slumbering king of coal. The whole nation stands stunned into silence as the DNC musters, at best, a retreat from the front lines, and at worst, a full-scale surrender to the forces of tyranny. From my home, nestled in the hills of eastern Kentucky, the same hills whose lessons compelled Sid Hatfield to fight the gun thugs, led F.E. Waller-Smith to chase her dream, convinced the miners to march on Blair, and demand their dignity back from their oppressors. I hear such a terrible cry rising from our nation. People of color face open racism and hostility not seen in decades. Women, our sisters, mothers, and daughters, fear for their own agency. Our trans siblings, whom it is our duty to protect, are struggling just to exist. The poor have had their food taken from them, their heat shut off in the cold of winter, and their hopes of crawling out of poverty dashed upon the rocky shores of rich men's greed. The American worker, imperiled by the threats of oligarchs, fascists, and those for whom empathy itself is called a sin. Fear not, though. We have faced these devils before, and we were victorious then, as we shall be once again. The answer to this grim despair, I believe, might be found in the messages, lives, and accomplishments of those who fought against the tyranny of the great demons of capitalism. There is the conviction of Sid Hatfield. There is the bravery of those who faced the Bull Moose Special. There is the sacrifice of those who bled on Blair Mountain, in Bloody Harlan, Bad Breathitt, and in small towns nestled in the mountains of Appalachia. But in times such as these, my friends, when the rich fatten themselves on our labor, trample on our rights, imperil the future of our children, and threaten the lives of our friends, well, even a tough old mountain coyote like me knows to call for his mother. Because sometimes you don't need a lady. You need a hellraiser. I'm Coyote Wallace, and this is the Dispatches from Appalachia, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most important figures in not only Appalachia's history, but the history of labor itself, Mother Jones, America's most dangerous woman. And as a quick sidebar again, because it always really bugs me a little bit on a personal level when I'm reading these, I, the person reading this aloud, am not Coyote Wallace. I am Cy, and I'm just some idiot. But it is my distinct pleasure and honor to be putting voice to the words that Coyote has committed to the page. What follows is a picture of a woman with a caption, Mother Jones, resting organized now face. And it is terrifying. Yeah, I would not want to be on the disappointment end of that face. The origins of a labor legend. Before she was known as Mother Jones, Mary G. Harris was born to a poor farming family in Cork, Ireland. The exact year of her birth remains unknown, but we do know that she was baptized in 1837. Mary's parents, Richard and Ellen Harris, were Catholic tenant farmers, their days filled with the hard toil of just trying to survive. Like many in Ireland, they were victims of the Great Famine, and with their bellies empty and no prospects for relief, they set out across the sea in search of a better life. What follows is a picture of Cork, Ireland, circa 1840. Mary was a teenage girl when she arrived in Canada with her family, and she often spoke of the harsh rebukes and discrimination that they faced both there and later in America for being Irish immigrants. Much like today, the fearmongers of the time were quick to whip the poor into a frenzy, warning that their livelihoods were besieged by immigrant labor. She never forgot the cruel words, sharp vitriol, and unwelcoming nature of those who found fault in her heritage. Their experience would teach her an empathy that would prove invaluable in the coming years. Mary Harris, still years away from becoming Mother Jones, was educated in Toronto, where she attended the Toronto Normal School to learn the craft of teaching. The school was tuition-free, and students were paid $1 per week for each semester completed. Despite this, Mary did not graduate, though she gained enough training to secure a teaching position at a convent in Monroe, Michigan. She was just 23 years old when she arrived in Monroe, earning $8 a month for her services. What follows is a picture of the Toronto Normal School. The future labor icon quickly realized that teaching in a convent was not the life for her. She described the work as depressing and unfulfilling. Gathering her meager savings, she quit her job and set out to see the young nation of America with her own two eyes. The year was 1860. She was 25 years old, and though she did not know yet what her place in this world would be, she knew that if it was to be found, she would have to find it herself. After a brief time in Chicago, Mary moved to Memphis, Tennessee. There, she witnessed firsthand the brutalities of slavery. Memphis was the gateway to the South, a booming riverboat town filled with card sharks, bordellos, saloons, and all manner of wildness. The lessons that she learned there would follow her, just as the ones that she had learned as an immigrant would. But Memphis did not simply bestow upon young Mary Harris an education in the barbarous nature of men. It also gave her a lesson of the heart. George E. Jones was a member and organizer for the National Union of Iron Molders. He had been shaped by the work, having lived it and paid his way in the world with his blood and sweat. But, more than that, he was willing to fight for his fellow workers. By all accounts, he and Mary Harris quickly fell in love, and in 1861, as America slid into a bloody civil war, the two were wed. As the years passed, George's union grew into the International Molders and Foundry Workers of America, representing laborers who specialized in building steam engines, mills, and manufactured goods. Mary's wanderlust faded, and she was said to be content in her life with George. Thanks to the strength of his union and his position within it, George was able to provide more than enough for their growing family. As the Civil War raged around them, Mary gave birth to 4 children, and, miraculously, they escaped the conflict unscathed. Yet no tale of greatness can be told without an element of tragedy. In 1867, a yellow fever epidemic swept through Memphis. First, the disease claimed the life of Mary's husband, George. Then, one by one, their 3 daughters and son succumbed. Not a single one of the children was older than 5. Mary Harris Jones was left alone in the world. Her happiness had been burned to cinders in the fires of fever, and she could no longer bear to stay in Memphis, where so many joyful memories had become painful reminders of what she had lost. What follows appears to be a newspaper cartoon, contributions received here for yellow fever sufferers. Heartbroken, but too stubborn to give in to despair, Mary returned to Chicago and took up dressmaking as a profession. By all accounts, this work was far more agreeable to her than teaching, and she soon became highly sought after by Chicago's elite. She had her own shop, and though she had lost much, she was building a solid foundation for her own independence. But just 4 years after losing her family, in 1871, disaster struck again. The Great Chicago Fire turned the city into an inferno. The blaze killed more than 300 people, destroyed over 17,000 structures, and left more than 100,000 citizens homeless. The fire leapt across the south branch of the Chicago River, reduced central Chicago to a smoldering ruin, and consumed the north side. It also took Mary's dressmaking business, her home, her savings, and all her worldly possessions. Mary would have thrown in the towel after such a loss, especially having already endured so much in Memphis, but not Mary Harris Jones. Quick side note, I did skip this part. Just above this portion was a picture of the aftermath of the Chicago fire. No, for when Chicago burned down, Mary did not think of her own welfare. Instead, in a move that foreshadowed her future as a union organizer, she committed herself to the cause of rebuilding the city. While donations poured in, including a generous sum from the United Kingdom, which helped fund the Chicago Public Library, it was Mary and those like her who got down in the mud and cinders to restore what had been lost. During this reconstruction of one of America's greatest cities, Mary Jones came to know the Knights of Labor and was introduced to the cause of workers' rights. The Knights of Labor was an American labor organization whose popularity peaked in 1880. It found particular success in the northern states, Canada, and even parts of Great Britain. The Knights championed the uplifting of workers through better wages, improved conditions, and the implementation of an 8-hour workday. Founded by Uriah Stevens in 1869, the organization had swelled to nearly 800,000 members by 1886, roughly 20% of the American workforce. Mary Harris Jones soon became a champion of the cause as well, discovering within herself a talent for organizing labor strikes. Many of these early efforts were met with fierce resistance from the U.S. government and industrial barons. Though the Knights of Labor had grown in strength, fears of anarchism and rising tensions would soon lead to unprecedented violence, the Haymarket Affair. During a peaceful protest for the 8-hour workday at the McCormick Harvesting Machine Company in Chicago, someone threw a bomb between the protesters and the already on edge police officers. The explosion, followed by retaliatory gunfire from the police, resulted in the deaths of 8 officers and 4 protesters. Anarchists were blamed for the violence, arrests were made, and the controversy unraveled the Knights of Labor. What follows is a picture depicting the Haymarket bombing. Many might have been disillusioned by such a turn of events. Most certainly the hardships Mary had endured would have broken others. But Mary Harris Jones was not most people. The message of the Knights of Labor had resonated with her, and she saw in their failures a path forward, one where she herself might succeed. She had already proven herself as a capable organizer and an effective public speaker, known for her ability to connect with working-class struggles. Her voice, marked by a charming brogue, only deepened with passion when she addressed a crowd. By 1897, Mary was an organizer without a union, and she had all but abandoned the name Mary Harris Jones. Instead, she embraced the moniker by which she would be known for the rest of her life, Mother Jones. And Mother Jones was about to meet the great UMWA. What follows is a picture from a news article. Group of workers who helped organize Mingo County. This picture of the miners' representatives was taken in front of the newly established headquarters of the United Mine Workers of America at Mattawan, West Virginia. It was within a few yards of this spot that 2 miners, the mayor of Mattawan and 7 Baldwin Felts detectives, were killed in a pitched battle on May 19th. Those in the picture are as follows. Standing left to right, James Doyle, international organizer, W.H. Hutchison of Mattawan, Andrew Wilson, international organizer, W. Phillips of Mattawan. Seated left to right, C.H. Workman, district board member, Mother Jones, Sid Hatfield, chief of police of Mattawan, I.E. Fry of Mattawan. And hot damn, sidebar note, that's an impressive picture right there. Mother of those mountain boys. The newly minted Mother Jones did not begin her story with the UMWA in the ancient hills of East Kentucky or West Virginia, but in the silk mills of Pennsylvania. The year was 1901, and the workers of those mills had gone on strike for better wages and an end to child labor. She had been summoned by the UMWA's then-president, John Mitchell, in the brutal, cold months of September and February to witness the conditions in which those children were expected to work, and to help organize the workers into a unified force. Jones believed that the motives of every working man could be traced to his home, and that no one played a more important role in labor rights than women. Rather than relying on conventional means of organizing, she appealed directly to the wives of the mill workers, encouraging them to join her and their husbands in protest. The wives followed their striking husbands, banging pots and pans, waving brooms, and shouting, "Join the Union." Mother Jones was incensed by the conditions in which those children labored in the cold. She claimed that their childhoods and opportunities for education were being stolen to fatten the pockets of the wealthy. She traveled to every silk mill in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, rallying workers to hold strong against the mill owners' attempt to break the strike. What follows is a picture subtitled Mary Harris Mother Jones, leading a children's march against exploitation in Colorado, circa 1910. Finally, The mill owners agreed to improve conditions, but insisted they could not increase wages or end child labor without shutting their doors. The workers accepted this compromise, and though Mother Jones had won a victory, it tasted of bitter defeat and ashes. She swore she would never again compromise with the ruling class, and would spend the rest of her life fighting hell off its hinges to end the exploitation of children by capitalists, who saw them not as a future, but as cheap labor. Over the next 2 years, Mother Jones became a force to be reckoned with in the fight against child labor. One of her most famous efforts was the 1903 March of the Mill Children. Still enraged by the conditions that she had witnessed in the silk mills, the 62-year-old Mother Jones led a band of children who worked in the mines and mills of America on a march from Kensington, Pennsylvania to President Theodore Roosevelt's summer house in Oyster Bay, New York, nearly 125 miles. They carried banners declaring, "We want to go to school, not the mines," and held rallies in every city they passed through. These rallies featured skits, demonstrations, and speeches that resonated deeply with the working class. Each event drew thousands, and the numbers only grew as the march continued. What follows is a picture of Mother Jones, and I'm guessing it's from the course of that march. When Mother Jones felt her resolve flagging, when she felt the weight of her 62 years upon her shoulders, when she grew tired, hungry, and sick at heart, that victory might never come, she looked at those children. She looked at their hands, missing fingers. She looked at their faces, robbed of an eye, or their scalps stripped by the cruel pull of machinery. She saw their thin shoulders and sunken cheeks, and she knew she could not surrender. To surrender, or to compromise, in the least when it came to those children, would be consign them to a fate without hope and a future without prosperity. By the time Mother Jones reached Oyster Bay, she was no longer leading just a ragged band of children. She was carrying the weight of a roiling, righteous movement. What Mary Harris Jones and the Knights of Labor had never been able to do, Mother Jones would, come hell or high water. What follows is another picture. Looks a bit washed out from the style of it, but from the same march. When newspaper men came to Mother Jones, heads bowed in shame, they informed her they could not print stories about the horrific conditions in which the children worked. The mill and mine owners also owned the newspapers. Mother Jones is said to have folded her hands before her, looked them in the eye, and declared, "Well, I happen to have stock in these children, and if you do not have the courage to speak for them, then I will raise a little publicity myself." President Roosevelt refused to meet with her or the children, hiding in his house in Oyster Bay, while his secretary pleaded with Mother Jones to allow the president a moment's peace. She was encouraged to write a letter requesting a meeting through the proper channels, which she did publicly, shaming Roosevelt twice over when he very publicly failed to answer. By 1905, Mother Jones was not only a fierce advocate for the UMWA, but she had also helped found the Industrial Workers of the World, the IWW, a union dedicated to uniting all workers regardless of profession. Her efforts were so effective, so threatening to the men of industry, that she was declared America's most dangerous woman, a title that Mother Jones found both amusing and one she wore with no small amount of pride. What follows appears to be a political cartoon of the world for the workers and the IWW ripping apart. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the image in and of itself as I'm analyzing it. Ripping apart a wall of capitalist bullshit. We'll just call it what it is. For when a rich man considers you a threat, you know you're on the right path. A near mythical figure by the age of 82, when she arrived in West Virginia during the height of the Cold War to begin organizing efforts, even appearing in early film with Appalachia's two-gun saint Sid Hatfield himself, Mother Jones had not slowed down in the least. When she appeared in the town squares of places like Mattawan, Logan, Charleston, Pikeville, and others, people would come from all around to hear her speak, and not even the wretched Baldwin Felts gun thugs could keep us from seeing our mother. What follows is I'm not sure if it's a picture or a painting. Either way, it's a beautiful picture of Mother Jones and protesters. Appalachia was a place of blood and coal when she arrived. Men were killed, women raped, and homes burned or blown to bits by dynamite. Here in the mountains was the most dangerous place for a labor organizer in America, as the gun thugs had open rein to kill or jail any union organizer they caught. Yet Mother Jones was unafraid of their threats, unafraid of their purchasing of the law, and unbowed by the efforts of small men with big stacks of cash. What follows is another picture of Mother Jones with some children. Lovely. So beloved was she by the Appalachian miner for speaking to us as if she were one of us, rather than above us, that had a gun thug raised his pistol, he would have had to shoot through every miner who had coal dust under his fingernails. The coal operators and the mine owners knew it, too, as did Mother Jones, and she wagered her life against the efforts of strike bearers and hired killers for the sake of all working-class Americans. The governor of West Virginia, William E. Glasscock, was a notorious crony for King Coal, and he hatched a plan to undermine Mother Jones's efforts and separate her from her coal-born children. She was arrested for organizing West Virginia coal miners, and, after a speedy trial, was sentenced to 20 years' confinement at the age of 82. Glasscock believed that this would be the end of America's most dangerous woman, and made a show of returning Mother Jones to her home rather than prison, so that she might see her efforts undone. Another picture of Mother Jones in front of a huge array of people. Inspiring. As they led this 82-year-old woman in handcuffs up the stairs to the house where she was to be imprisoned, she turned and looked out at her Appalachian children. The miners were fiercely protective of their adoptive mother, and Governor Glasscock had sent a contingent of state police to ensure that her imprisonment was carried out. The tension between the two groups was as thick as the coal dust in the mines, and violence seemed sure to erupt at any moment. She no doubt realized this could very well be the last time she would speak to her children, that she could give voice to the cause that had carried her through so many years and over so many miles. Quote, "I am Mother Jones. The government can't take my life. You, sir, can't take my arm. But if you will, at least take my suitcase." Another picture of Mother Jones being taken to her confinement. This dry-witted response sent up a roar of laughter and cheers from the miners, leaving the state troopers standing there looking like school children who had messed in their drawers. The outrage over her imprisonment was so great that the governor soon began to fear for his life. Threats of violence, future strikes, and widespread civil disobedience flooded into every state official's office from one end of West Virginia to the other. Letter-writing campaigns were begun by women all over the country, and coal miners themselves became even more antagonistic. And soon Governor Glasscock could not leave his own home for fear that if he did, he would be killed for his complicity in the injustice of Mother Jones's confinement. While all the people of Appalachia, and America's working class itself, fought for the freedom of their mother from the cruel hands of the gun thugs, Mother Jones was fighting her own battle, a battle against a bad case of pneumonia that had set in due to the poor conditions of the home where she was imprisoned. News of Mother Jones's struggle against illness only made the miners and workers of Appalachia fight even harder for her freedom, and soon Governor Glasscock relented. Though doing so surely made his master, King Coal, unhappy, he signed her pardon. Despite being severely weakened by her confinement and illness, Mother Jones immediately left the house where she had been kept and led a demonstration for workers' rights in the very place where she had previously been arrested. What follows is a picture of that very same demonstration. You see, we learn from our mother to never bow to tyrants. She did not cower, so we would not cower. She did not give up when circumstances were difficult, So we learned to never give up just because circumstances were difficult. Mother Jones showed our people the importance of solidarity and the power that the workers of America wield when they stand united for the cause of justice. So long as there was even one child working in the mines, or even one man struggling to feed his family, Mother Jones would not abandon her people. The only time the people of Appalachia would disobey her came at the Battle of Blair Mountain, when she urged the miners to turn back because she knew the gun thugs were heavily armed and eager to kill them. Mother Jones did not wish to see us die, and she knew how cruel the barons of industry would be. She would carry a sense of guilt with her for the rest of her days, after she was escorted from the state by the UMWA in the nights before the battle began. The blood spilled at Blair, her confinement, pneumonia, and years of fighting for labor had taken their toll on her, and soon she would leave Appalachia forever. Mother Jones is said to have had a nervous breakdown following the death and destruction at Blair Mountain and the pure carnage left behind by the Coal War. What follows is a picture of Mother Jones recovering from said breakdown. By 1924, she had settled near Washington, D.C., though her hands had grown too weak to hold a pen and her health was failing. She still received visitors and gave interviews for the cause of labor. Her last known protest was for dressmakers in Chicago, of which she had once been, in the hopes of attaining a fair living wage. In 1930, at the age of 100, she sat before the camera one last time, her voice frail but her conviction unshaken, to deliver a final message to the workers of America about the importance of organized labor and the fight to end the exploitation of children. What follows is a picture of her final appearance and a message in support of solidarity. In one final act of solidarity, Mother Jones left instructions that she be buried with the Union coal miners who had been killed by gun thugs in the Verdun mine riots. She said that the coal miners were her boys, her children, and she would not be separated from them in death. Just like Sid Hatfield, just like Sesko Estep, just like the men who died and bled on Blair. Mother Jones was a hero of the Union, and she went into the ground with the very people she had fought for. America's most dangerous woman and queen of the coal fields had earned her rest. What follows is a picture that appears to be a memorial to Mother Jones. A mother's love never dies. Coyote fam, we now live in a time where Mother Jones's lessons are needed more than ever. Each day we awaken, the current administration of the United States government, corrupted oligarchs and men of poor character, work to undermine the hard-won victories of labor. They seek to repeal labor laws, do away with OSHA, use prison labor, and, in the case of some Republican lawmakers, even bring back child labor. Our whole world has seemingly been purchased for pennies on the dollar by those for whom wickedness is second nature, and for whom profit means everything. Elon Musk, the president's lapdog, or maybe it's the other way around, is the son of a mine owner. And, like every no-good son of a mine owner, all he wants is to get richer and make us all much poorer. They have made it clear to us that they do not care if we have money to feed our families, and they certainly don't care if the businesses that hire us work us to death, or if they poison us with unsafe conditions, or even if they kill us outright. They would return us to the time of the gun thugs, threaten politicians who support the workers, and rob us of the dignity of having enough money not just to survive, but to actually live in a manner that is better than a beast of burden. Woe be unto you who do not listen to your mother. Woe be unto you who do not remember that the cause of solidarity is not just the cause of pay. It is a cause of decency and goodness that separates real Americans from those who long to be slave owners. Do not come away from this with only a gained knowledge of this woman who gave so much of her life to the cause of labor, and who risked so much in order to win your rights to fair pay and dignity. No, I do not believe that our mother would be content with that. I do not believe that our mother would be satisfied with merely educating yourselves. There is a greater gift that you may give to her if you wish to honor her memory, one that every Appalachian knows is true as the sunrise and as constant as the stars. Ask yourself tonight, at this very moment, what would you do for the cause of labor? What will it be? Are you content to sit by and watch as they prepare to take from you all that was earned by those who died for it? Are you satisfied with the notion that one day your babies might be returned to the mines or the factories? Do you have the stones and sand of this 82-year-old woman walking into the hell on earth that was the Coal Wars, where gun thugs ran wild and good men died in the streets? Will you let them take that from you? Will you let them starve you? Will you let the rich men of this nation rob you, not just of your pay, but of your dignity itself? I don't think you will. And I don't think Mother Jones thinks you will let that happen either. Now, some of you might not know what to do. You might not be from union people, and you might not know a whole lot about solidarity. But our Mother Jones left us with one bit of advice that I now leave to each of you. Quote, "The first thing is to raise hell, and that's always the first thing to do when you're faced with an injustice and you feel powerless." End quote. Solidarity forever, and a beautiful picture of Mother Jones that is captioned by Coyote as a dedication to Elon Musk of her flipping the bird, which I will do double for you, Elon Musk. You edgelord, son of a bitch, emerald mine, inheriting piece of human fucking garbage. Go fuck yourself. And this has been Some Idiot Reads. As ever, please, I highly encourage you, go continue to check out the work for Coyote Wallace. I will have a link in the description to his Medium page. Go there, read his stuff. It is fantastic. Give him a follow. You can do that. There's like a little green button up in the upper right corner. You'll see it up there. Just like click on that. Follow it. It's awesome. Also, because it has been brought to my attention that it can be a little difficult to find, I do maintain a link in the description directly to his Ko-Fi. But on any of the articles down here, let me see, can you still see my mouse? You can see my mouse. This little black button down here, give a tip. That will also take you to his Ko-Fi page. If you can spare it, and if you did enjoy it, please give the man a tip. This genuinely helps him out with continuing to be able to do this writing and all the research that goes into it, which, while I have not had direct confirmation, I've done enough of my own research on separate projects that, like, game recognizes game here. I can see how much he actually puts into this. And never mind just the passion to it. So, this again has been The Lost Heroes of Old Appalachia, America's Most Dangerous Woman, by Coyote Wallace. And I am Cy, some idiot, and this has been my reading. Where's my stop recording button? Oh, there it is. Take care.